Good evening, and welcome to our service. Let's begin this meeting by singing hymn 51, and I will read the third verse. God's will is done, his kingdom come. The potter's work is plain. The longing to be good and true has brought the light again. And man does stand as God's own child, the image of his love. Let gladness ring from every tongue, and heaven and earth approve. Hymn 51. The subject of tonight's readings is God's will is done, and I will be reading from the Bible and from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. From the Bible, the New International Version, Numbers, chapter 22. Now Balak, son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites, and Moab was terrified because there were so many people. Indeed, Moab was filled with dread because of the Israelites. So Balak, who was king of Moab at the time, sent messengers to summon Balaam, son of Beor, who was at Pethor, near the Euphrates River in his native land. Balak said, "A people has come out of Egypt. They covered the face of the land and have settled next to me. Now come and put a curse on these people, because they are too powerful for me. Perhaps then I'll be able to defeat them and drive them out of the land. For I know that whoever you bless is blessed, and whoever you curse is cursed." the elders of Moab and Midian left, taking with them the fee for divination. When they came to Balaam, they told him what Balak had said. "Spend the night here," Balaam said to them, "and I will report back to you with the answer the Lord gives me." So the Moabite officials stayed with him. God came to Balaam and asked, "Who are these men with you?" Balaam said to God, "Balak, king of Moab, sent me this message. A people that has come out of Egypt covers the face of the land. Now come and put a curse on them for me. Perhaps then I will be able to fight them and drive them away." But God said to Balaam, "Do not go with them. You must not put a curse on those people, because they are blessed." The next morning, Balaam got up and said to Balak's officials, "Go back to your own country, for the Lord has refused to let me go with you." So the Moabite officials returned to Balak and said, "Balaam refused to come with us." Then Balak sent other officials, more numerous and more distinguished than the first. They came to Balaam and said, "This is what Balak says. Do not let anything keep you from coming to me, because I will reward you handsomely and do whatever you say. Come and put a curse on these people for me." But Balaam answered them, "Even if Balak gave me all the silver and gold in his palace, I could not do anything, great or small, to go beyond the command of the Lord my God. Now spend the night here so that I can find out what else the Lord will tell me." That night, God came to Balaam and said, "Since these men have come to summon you, go with them, but do only what I tell you." Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the Moabite officials. But God was very angry when he went, and the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Balaam was riding on his donkey, and his 2 servants were with him. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand, it turned off the road into a field. Balaam beat it to get back on the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path through the vineyards, with walls on both sides. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it pressed close to the wall, crushing Balaam's foot against it. So he beat the donkey again. Then the angel of the Lord moved on ahead and stood in a narrow place where there was no room to turn, either to the right or to the left. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it lay down under Balaam, and he was angry and beat it with his staff. Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and it said to Balaam, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" Balaam answered the donkey, "You have made a fool of me. If only I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now." The donkey said to Balaam, "Am I not your own donkey, which you have always ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you?" "No," he said. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his sword drawn. So he bowed low and fell face down. The angel of the Lord asked him, "Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? I have come here to oppose you, because your path is a reckless one before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If it had not turned away, I would certainly have killed you by now, but I would have spared it." Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, "I have sinned. I did not realize you were standing in the road to oppose me. Now, if you're displeased, I will go back." The angel of the Lord said to Balaam, "Go with the men, but speak only what I tell you." So Balaam went with Balak's officials. When Balak heard that Balaam was coming, he went out to meet him at the Moabite town on the Arnon border, at the edge of his territory. Balak said to Balaam, "Did I not send you an urgent summons? Why didn't you come to me? Am I really not able to reward you?" "Well, I have come to you now," Balaam replied, "but I can't say whatever I please. I must speak only what God puts in my mouth." Then Balaam went with Balak to Kiriath-Huzoth. Balak sacrificed cattle and sheep and gave some to Balaam and the officials who were with him. The next morning, Balak took Balaam to Bamoth Baal, and from there he could see the outskirts of the Israelite camp. Balaam said, "Build me 7 altars here, and prepare 7 bulls and 7 rams for me." Balak did as Balaam said, and the 2 of them offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Then Balaam said to Balak, "Stay here beside your offering while I go aside. Perhaps the Lord will come to meet with me. Whatever he reveals to me, I will tell you." Then he went off to a barren height. God met with him, and Balaam said, "I have prepared 7 altars, and on each altar I have offered a bull and a ram." The Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth and said, "Go back to Balak and give him this word." So he went back and found him standing with his offering with all the Moabite officials. Then Balaam spoke his message. "Balak brought me from Aram, the king of Moab from the eastern mountains. Come," he said, "curse Jacob for me. Come, denounce Israel." "How can I curse those whom God has not cursed? How can I denounce those whom the Lord has not denounced? From the rocky peaks I see them. From the heights I view them. I see a people who live apart and do not consider themselves one of the nations. Who can count the dust of Jacob, or number even a fourth of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and may my final end be like theirs." Balak said to Balaam, "What have you done to me? I brought you to curse my enemies, but you have done nothing but bless them." He answered, "Must I not speak what the Lord puts in my mouth?" Then Balak said to Balaam, "Neither curse them at all, nor bless them at all." Balaam answered, "Did I not tell you I must do whatever the Lord says?" Then Balaam got up and returned home, and Balak went his own way. Thessalonians. In everything, it's 1 Thessalonians, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. And from Science and Health, with Key to the Scriptures, by Mary Baker Eddy. From the Glossary of Christian Science, the definition of will: the motive power of error, mortal belief, animal power. Alternatively, the might and wisdom of God. For this is the will of God, 1 Thessalonians. Will, as a quality of so-called mortal mind, is a wrongdoer. Hence, it should not be confounded with the term as applied to mind or to one of God's qualities. Meekly, our Master met the mockery of his unrecognized grandeur. Such indignities as he received, his followers will endure until Christianity's last triumph. He won eternal honors. He overcame the world, the flesh, and all error, thus proving their nothingness. He wrought a full salvation from sin, sickness, and death. We need Christ and him crucified. We must have trials and self-denials, as well as joys and victories, until all error is destroyed. Before error is wholly destroyed, there will be interruptions of the general material routine. This material world is even now becoming the arena of conflicting forces. The breaking up of material beliefs may seem to be famine and pestilence, want and woe, sin, sickness, and death, which assume new faces until their nothingness appear. These disturbances will continue until the end of error, when all discord will be swallowed up in spiritual truth. Mortal error will vanish in a mortal chemicalization. This mental fermentation has begun and will continue until all errors of belief yield to understanding. Belief is changeable, but spiritual understanding is changeless. As this consummation draws nearer, he who has shaped his course in accordance with divine science will endure to the end. As material knowledge diminishes and spiritual understanding increases, real objects will be apprehended mentally instead of materially. During this final conflict, wicked minds will endeavor to find means by which to accomplish more evil. But those who discern Christian science will hold crime in check. They will aid in the ejection of error. They will maintain law and order and cheerfully await the certainty of ultimate perfection. In reality, the more closely error simulates truth and so-called matter resembles its essence, mortal mind, the more impotent error becomes as a belief. According to human belief, the lightning is fierce and the electric current swift. Yet in Christian science, the flight of one and the blow of the other will become harmless. The more destructive matter becomes, the more its nothingness will appear, until matter reaches its mortal zenith in illusion and forever disappears. The nearer a false belief approaches truth, without passing the boundary where, having been destroyed by divine love, it ceases to be even an illusion, the riper it becomes for destruction. The more material the belief, the more obvious its error, until divine spirit, supreme in its domain, dominates all matter, and man is found in the likeness of spirit, his original being. The broadest facts array the most falsities against themselves, for they bring error from under cover. It requires courage to utter truth, for the higher truth lifts her voice, the louder will error scream, until its inarticulate sound is forever silenced in oblivion. Evil is a negation because it is the absence of truth. It is nothing because it is the absence of something. It is unreal because it presupposes the absence of God, the omnipotent and omnipresent. Every mortal must learn that there is neither power nor reality in evil. Evil is self-assertive. It says, I am a real entity over mastering good. This falsehood should strip evil of all pretensions. The only power of evil is to destroy itself. It can never destroy one iota of good. Every attempt of evil to destroy good is a failure and only ends in peremptorily punishing the evildoer. The scientific unity which exists between God and man must be wrought out in life practice, and God's will must be universally done. He who knows God's will or the demands of divine science and obeys them incurs the hostility of envy, and he who refuses obedience to God is chastened by love. Central treasures are laid up where moth and rust doth corrupt. Mortality is their doom. Sin breaks in upon them and carries off their fleeting joys. In patient obedience to a patient God, let us labor to dissolve with the universal solvent of love the adamant of error, self-will, self-justification, and self-love, which wars against spirituality and is the law of sin and death. Think less of the enactments of mortal mind, and you will sooner grasp man's God-given dominion. There is no hypocrisy in science. Principle is imperative. You cannot mock it with human will. Science is a divine demand, not a human. Always right, its divine principle never repents, but maintains the claim of truth by quenching error. The pardon of divine mercy is the destruction of error. If men understood their real spiritual source to be all blessedness, they would struggle for recourse to the spiritual and be at peace. But the deeper the error into which mortal mind is plunged, the more intense the opposition to spirituality, till error yields to truth. Please join in a few moments of silent prayer and then pray together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Please join in singing hymn 519. I will read the first verse. Lean on the sustaining infinite, and blessings will be yours. Lean not on person, place, or thing, or economic laws, but lean upon all-blessing God, who will all needs supply, and give to all abundant good that money cannot buy. Hymn 519.
Lean on the sustaining infinite, and blessings will be yours. Lean not on person, place, or thing, or economic laws, but lean upon all blessing God, who will all needs supply, and give to all abundant good that money cannot buy. Let the healing reign of truth and life, the reign of love divine, be now established within me, to show souls clear design of oneness indivisible, of God and me as one, as water is to ocean wave, as sunbeam is to sun. Love with the heart of tenderness, your enemies and friends. However hard this may appear, this quality just mends. For love is God in action true, a presence that is felt, a healing and a
The members of this church extend a loving welcome to our guests this evening. This church is a branch of the Mother Church, the First Church of Christ Scientist in Boston, Massachusetts, a church designed in the words of its founder, Mary Baker Eddy, to commemorate the word and works of our Master, which should reinstate primitive Christianity and its lost element of healing. Our church services are held every Sunday morning at 10. Scriptural selections and the weekly lesson sermon are read, as they are in all Christian Science churches throughout the world. The Sunday service is also broadcast on Zoom and recorded on YouTube. A Sunday school for children and teenagers is available every Sunday morning, also at 10 o'clock. The students learn about the Bible and how to use the healing truths of Christian Science in daily life. A free public reading room is located in this building. Here, the Bible, as well as the writings of Mary Baker Eddy and other Christian Science literature, may be studied, borrowed, or purchased. The reading room is open after every Sunday service and before each Wednesday evening meeting, or by appointment anytime convenient for you. Should you wish to express your gratitude for Christian Science by becoming a member of the Mother Church or of this branch church, please see the usher for information. We welcome applications from students of Christian Science wherever you may be. We include remote members in all our activities. Each of you is a valued member of the congregation, and we hope you find our meetings inspiring and helpful. This meeting is now open to you to share testimonies of healings and remarks on Christian Science. If you're joining us by Zoom, please don't forget to unmute yourself so we can hear you. Well, if there are no further testimonies, we can end the meeting a little early by singing hymn 160. And I will read the second verse. It's actually the last verse, the fifth verse. And it reads as follows. The centuries break, the earthbound wake, God's glorified, who doth his will, his likeness still, is satisfied. Hymn 160.
It matters not what